When we're working with one-step equations, you always have to do the inverse operation to remove different parts of the equation that you don't need. So we'll take a look at today's quiz. In question 1a, it is d minus 6 equals 19. Remember, our goal is to get d by itself, so we remove the minus 6 by going plus 6. All right? And whatever you do to one side, you have to do to the other, giving you d equals 25. In question b, this is a multiplication by 6. Now, we could write divided by 6, but we prefer not to write that. We put it as a fraction. We use a division written as a fraction, and that's going to give me a y on the left. Now, the problem on the right is it doesn't work out evenly, right? 6 goes into 72, but it doesn't go into 75. So in this kind of case, usually we're not going to do long division or anything like that. You're just going to reduce the fraction. So I would divide the top and the bottom by 3, and so I get 25 over 2. Question C, this is a division, right? I just said, okay, it's written as a fraction. And so when we want to undo that division, we need to multiply. So I'm going to multiply by 3 to counter the division by 3. If you think of it, it's really just 3 over 1, and those 3's are going to cancel. But whatever you do to one side, you'll have to do to the other side also. And so that's going to give me just an A on the left-hand side and negative 18 on the right. Question D is a multiplication by 4/3. And despite the fact you say you should divide by 4/3, that's going to be really messy. So the trick for multiplication of a fraction times a letter is to multiply by its reciprocal. In this case, 3 over 4, which would give us 12 over 12 when you would multiply it out, which is 1, right? On the right-hand side, though, you also have to multiply by 3 over 4, remembering that that 24 is over 1. If you cancel, and I highly recommend canceling for these, that means the 4 would become a 1, and the 24 divided by 4 would become a 6. And you then get 18 for your answer. Now don't get confused with the fraction you see in letter D with the fraction you see in letter E. In this case, the fraction is subtracted, and so the opposite operation for subtraction is going to be addition. So I would add 2/5. Now the problem is when I write plus 2/5 here and plus 2/5, it's really hard to think of that as the operation. So sometimes it's better to think of plus 2/5 on the side here and plus 2/5 on the side there. Now the negative 2/5 and the plus 2/5 are going to cancel, leaving just a p. And the 3/10 plus the 2/5, well, you got to remember that 2/5 is equal to 4/10. So I'm going to take the extra step here, and we'll add the common, with a common denominator of 10, and we'll add the numerators to get 7/10. And question F, this is a division wrong. It's a multiplication that I'm going to remove by a division. And so this is a negative 12 times the m. I'm going to divide out the negative 12 on this side, and that means I'm going to divide out the negative 12 on the other side. And just like before, this isn't going to work out evenly, so the best I can do is reduce this by dividing top and bottom by 6, which is going to give me 3 over 2. Now, don't forget about the negative sign. This whole fraction is negative. Even though you see the negative on the bottom, the entire fraction is negative. And when we have this opportunity, we put the negative on the top of the fraction. All right, let's move down to the next section. In this section, the questions are two-step examples. And what we have to do is first remove the term, okay, which is going to be a plus or a minus operation. And then we're going to remove the coefficient, which is going to be a multiplication or division operation. So when I say removing the term, you look for the thing that's added or subtracted. I want the 6a by itself, and this plus 12 is in the way. So I'm going to subtract 12 here, which means you also have to subtract 12 on the other side, leaving you with 6a on the left and negative 54 on the right. Now we have one step left, and that's where I'm going to divide to get rid of the coefficient of 6. They'll cancel out, and I'm going to divide the 54 by 6 to get me a 9. And just like the other question, this is negative, okay? So I'll put the negative on the 9. Question B, I have a variable term and then a constant term. I'm going to remove that constant term of plus 27 by subtracting 27. And you have to do the same to the other side, leaving you with negative 4x and negative 24 on the right. Here, I'm going to divide by the coefficient, negative 4. And when I do negative 24 divided by negative 4, that's going to get me a positive 6, right? 24 divided by 4 is 6, and because there are two negatives in the question, it's going to be positive. Question C is first a subtraction that I'm going to have to get rid of, and then the fraction, which I'm going to have to get rid of. So I'm going to get rid of that minus 4 by adding 4 to both sides. And that'll leave me with 2/3 z. And on the right side, it'll be negative 16. This is a multiplication of 2/3, and I could divide by 2/3, but it's going to be too messy. So instead, I'm going to multiply by the reciprocal of that coefficient, right? Multiply by the reciprocal of the coefficient of the variable, which will just cancel out to give me 1z on my next line. And since I multiplied the first one by 3/2, I'm going to have to multiply this by 3/2 also. And remember that 16 is over 1. Canceling here is also recommended. You cancel the 2, you divide by 2, you get 1. 16 and 2 gets you 8. And don't forget that there's a negative sign there. So that's going to be a 24. There's just a 1 on the bottom, so I'm not going to bother to write it. And it's going to be negative. Last question. I'm going to get rid of the plus 10, get rid of the minus 10 by putting a plus 10. And then I'm going to get rid of the 3 over 4 by multiplying by 4 over 3. So plus 10 is going to give me 3 over 4w equals 18. And then I'm going to multiply both sides by 4/3. The left side will just be w. The right side, this is 18 over 1. I'm going to be canceling the 3 with the 18 to get me 1 here and 6 there, right? 18 divides by 3 6 times. And then on the answer, it's going to be 6 times 4, which is positive 24 for my solution. Hopefully this helps explain these equations a little bit better. You might want to rewatch this video a couple of times. Have a good day.